Yeah, this is the Fantasy Blitz Show, and we are back again with another episode for y'all. Today, we're going to go over some of my takeaways of the Week 2 preseason. Now, I don't want you guys to overreact to some of these takes, but keep in mind some of these players should be on your radar. So with all that said, let's get into it. So for this first game, we got the Carolina Panthers versus the New York Giants. The score of that one was 19-21. Keep in mind, this is preseason, so fuck them scores. My first takeaway from this game is Daniel Jones really that low-key nice? I mean, he looked good that game. He went 8 for 9 in completions, 69 yards, and a touchdown. I've been fading him, not going to lie. I'm not too crazy about this offense. I think last year might have been, I don't want to say a fluke, but you know, one of those things that people didn't have enough tape on and boom, they blew up. So this year I don't see them taking that leap, but I could be wrong, especially seeing how Daniel Jones played. I mean, like I said, I've been fading him, but now I might be reconsidering him as maybe a QB2 option. Next take, I got that Darren Waller and Daniel Jones could be a great stack on your team, especially with my thoughts of having him as a QB2, and if you still have Darren Waller as your tight end 1, that could be a great stack. Daniel Jones' first 2 passes of the game went straight to Darren Waller. Darren Waller's stats, he had 4 targets, caught 3 of them for 30 yards. Now, your stat line, it is a small sample size because it is preseason, but they have a connection there. I've been high on Darren Waller, but I still have on my mind that injury history he has, so I'm not going to spend a very high draft capital, but at the same time, if it's just enough for me to say, you know what, I'm going to pull the trigger on Darren Waller, I'm doing it. Also, we got to see some work out of these young wide receivers on the New York Giants. We got to see Isaiah Hodgins, and we had to see Jalen Hyatt. Now, Hodgins' stat line, he had 4 targets, 2 catches, and 45 yards, while Jalen Hyatt had 5 targets, 4 catches, and 35 yards. So they actually looked pretty good. It wasn't Daniel Jones throwing the ball. I think one of them might have been from Daniel Jones, but other than that was from their backup. So what I saw was nice, but I'm still not crazy impressed with this wide receiving core. So I think I'm still fading these wide receivers if your name isn't Darren Waller. And on the Carolina side of the ball, Bryce Young still hasn't moved me, and I'm still concerned about that O-line because he was getting rushed a hell of a lot. I think he got another sack again this game. I know that Carolina might be low-key sneaky good this season, but that O-line is not going to help that offense, let alone help Bryce Young flourish into a quarterback that we think that he can be, that we saw in college. And another takeaway from this was the fact that we did get to see Jonathan Mingo actually on the field. He had 2 targets, 1 catch, and 15 yards. That was our first look at him. Some people are saying he should be the wide receiver 1, but he is a rookie. Still got to work behind some of these veterans like Adam Thielen and DJ Chark. Not going to lie, I am a huge DJ Chark fan. I still think he's relevant in my opinion, you know. I might use one of my last round picks, 16th, 17th pick on DJ Chark. I know this offense, I know what I just said about that O-line, but if they have to throw the ball, which we know they're going to because they're going to be down in a lot of games, DJ Chark should get some production along with Adam Thielen unless Jonathan Mingo breaks out to be this huge, great wide receiver, which I don't really see happening right away. DJ Chark and Adam Thielen still on my radar, especially for that last pick. It's not going to cost you anything. For this next game, we got Cincinnati versus Atlanta. Score was 13-13, ended up in a tie. On Cincinnati's side of the ball, it's a bit of a toss-up for me. Chris Evans or Chase Brown. I don't know who's going to be RB2. A lot of people are higher on Chris Evans, saying that he's going to be that lead running back who's going to get a lot of the passing work. But at the same time, I like Chase Brown. I think he's a better runner. Maybe not as good with the hands as Chris Evans. At the same time, I do not know what's going to happen there with that RB2 situation, but I just know I like Chase Brown. Not to say in redrafts I'm taking shares of any of these guys, but I'm going to keep my eye out on Chase Brown. So Chase Brown's stat line, he had 9 rushes for 18 yards and a touchdown. He got a TD. While we had Chris Evans, who had 7 rushes for 15 yards. Both of them not overly efficient at all, but Chase Brown did get that touchdown, so maybe we see him in a mix with Mixon. We don't know. Chris Evans is only on that passing down. We don't know, but that's all I could take away from that Cincinnati offense. Now, Atlanta. Oh boy, there's a few takes that I liked on this game. We got to see Ritter. His stat line was 7 of 9 in completions. He had 80 yards and 1 interception. He honestly didn't look bad. I'm still questioning his accuracy, not going to lie. But his backup, Taylor Heineke, coming from Washington, actually looked pretty damn good himself. If Ritter can't produce, I don't see why they don't just throw Heineke in there and see what he can do. Now, everybody's high on Bijan. I've been seeing in certain drafts where he's going as the 4th overall pick, 5th, even 3 sometimes. But this game, now I'm like, okay, he might be worth that 4th round pick. I mean, we don't know what that Atlanta offense is going to look like, but we know he's going to get fed the ball. Especially what we saw, he had a one-handed catch. One of his stat line, he had 4 rushes, 20 yards, 1 target, 1 catch for 6 yards. Now, I don't know why in the beginning of the week we saw on the depth chart they had him listed as the RB3. Makes no sense. Well, you have Cordell and you have Tyler Algier. We know Bijan's better than all of them, so why the hell would he be running back 3 on the depth chart? One thing I will say is that I guarantee you that Bijan Robinson at the end of this season will be a top 10 running back. You heard it here. Top 10. And my last takeaway from this game is Kyle Pitts gotta be dropping ADP, no? Like, we are not seeing anything of him. People are still like, oh, you know, this could be the year, but I think I'm completely moved off of him. I don't know if Atlanta or if it's Arthur Smith who just doesn't want to use him, but how do you not use somebody of his size and hands? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So I am a little disappointed in this. Atlanta, y'all gotta do better. Kyle Pitts is too much of a beast for y'all not to use him. Next game, we got Jacksonville versus Detroit. Score was 25-7 in favor of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now this one, there was no starters that played in this game, but the one takeaway that I do want to mention is the Tank Bigsby. He had 13 rushes, 70 yards. I'm still wondering if we're overreacting to his usage and saying that maybe he's going to take away from Travis Etienne's touches. I don't know if I believe that, especially when he's running with the 2nd and 3rd team guys out there. I mean, yes, it's preseason. He's a rookie, so they want to get him involved in this, so they try to put it on him early, but at the same time, I think we're probably overreacting on this Tank Bigsby, and we'll see a little bit of him, but I don't think he's going to take that much away from Travis Etienne. Next game, we've got Miami versus Houston. Now, that score was 28-3 in favor of Miami. My first takeaway is, what the fuck was that, Tua? What the fuck was that? Very first pass he throws is an interception. What the fuck? I mean, after that, he looked good. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it's probably, you know, him seeing the field against another defender and how many games. You only have training camp and practices. And now, under the bright lights, he panicked for a second. You know, I mean, that play was a little broken, but Tua, you got to be smarter than that. Another takeaway from Miami. Devin Achane. He looks like he could get buried in that depth chart. I was high on him in the beginning. I don't know. This running back core that they have is too deep. They have like 4 or 5 running backs. Who are they? Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Devin Achane, Ahmed, and they still have Gaskins. I think it's way too deep that maybe Achane is probably moving off my boards completely. One thing I will do about this Miami offense is if I do touch the backfield of this Miami offense, it's not going to be Devin Achane. It's going to be Mostert or Jeff Wilson. In some cases, if I can, I'll handcuff both of them. On Houston's side of the ball, we have C.J. Stroud. Still, that hasn't impressed me. His stat line was 7 of 12 for 60 yards. I don't think this Houston Texans offense is going to do much this season. They got to get C.J. Stroud out there more experience, and maybe some help on that offensive side of the ball. I mean, it does have some young wide receivers, but I think if we're going to see anything from Houston, it's not going to be until maybe 2-3 years out. Also, we got to see Dameon Pierce play on I'm talking about all 100% of starters' snaps. This man did not come off the field. If it was a pass play, he was on the field. If it was a run play, he was on the field. Hell, if it was special teams, he was on the field. I'm over exaggerating, but you get my point. I think his ADP right now is great value. You could see him going around in the 5th round. I think that's great value for somebody of his stature. I don't really see anybody behind him that's going to take any touches away from him. I know they got Devin Singletary now, so he'd probably be more involved in the passing work, but I think that's only if Dameon Pierce is tired. So Dameon Pierce definitely moved up my running back rankings. For the next game, we've got Buffalo versus Pittsburgh. Score was 15-27 in favor of Pittsburgh. My first takeaway from this is we actually got to see Josh Allen play. He played 2 drives. His stat line was 7 of 10 in completions and 64 yards. Now, we couldn't make too much of this, but I'm not worried because at the same time it is Josh Allen, and we already know what he can do, so they weren't trying to unleash him in a preseason game. Nah. Next. Clear RB1, we already know is going to be James Cook, obviously. The RB2 right now, I don't think it's going to be Damien Harris. I think for all we know, he might get cut. He was playing this game, but at the same time, you saw Latavius Murray get more of the work. Latavius Murray had 6 rushes for 26 yards, a little more efficient than what Damien Harris did. I do not see him getting even goal line work. So mark my words, Damien Harris might get cut off this team. Now on Pittsburgh's side of the ball, I think Kenny Pickett is a must draft. I'm high on him, especially going to put him as my QB2 if he falls to me. I think I will have that pick, no sweat, no problems, no questions asked. Also, Jaylen Warren, he might end up being a nice flex or bye week option for you guys. I really see Najee Harris's usage falling, and then Jaylen Warren fucking usage is going up. He did break away for a touchdown in this one for 62 yards. It was a beautiful run by Jaylen Warren. Just plays like that, I think he's got breakaway speed a lot more, or I should say a lot better than Najee Harris. Last take from this game, Pat Freiermuth's connection with Pickett is unbelievable. I think to this point we should have Pat Freiermuth in the top 8, maybe top 6 tight end discussion at the end of the season. We might just see that. We see that Kenny Pickett loves Pat Freiermuth as his check down or coming off of a flat where, you know, the field is wide open because of all his receivers going different routes. It's going to be crazy that Pat Freiermuth might become even a top 5 tight end. For this next game, we got New England versus Green Bay. Score ended up being 21-7. The game did end early because of an injury. Guy got hit and was not moving, so they decided to end that game early. First takeaway, Mac Jones worries me. Hearing that he may be a little more pass heavy and still hasn't shown any progress is concerning, honestly. His stat line was 6 of 9 for 52 yards. I know it's preseason, and I know that's a very small sample size, but at the same time, Mac Jones is not cutting it for me. Could we actually see more of Bailey Zappi this season? We already saw what he did last season, taking over for Mac Jones when he got hurt or even outplayed him. That could be the case this season. Mac Jones' stat line was pretty good too. 10 of 22 incompletions. He had 117 yards and a touchdown. A lot better than Mac Jones. Yes, he played more, but at the same time, at least Zappi was zinging that ball around. Next takeaway from New England. I think if that Zeke signing really has you off of Ramondre Stevenson, I think you're mistaken. I mean, his drop in ADP because of the signing, I think that's perfect. Now I don't have to spend that much of a high draft capital to get him, where, you know, in some drafts he coming off as, you know, the somewhere at the end of the second round, early third round. Now you could probably get him late third round. I think that's even better. So I think that's a blessing in disguise for Ramondre, especially seeing how he played. And my last takeaway from this New England offense is I think I'm 100% fading Juju Smith-Schuster. We haven't heard anything from him. We haven't got to see him play. I used to like him as a late round flyer, but now he's going in like the 14th, 13th round, maybe earlier. And I'm off that. No Juju for me. And now my takeaway from the Green Bay side of the ball. Green Bay's offense has been flexing on everybody this preseason. So you guys are like, oh, it's preseason, relax. Okay, you relax. I understand it's preseason, but did you guys see Jordan Love, or did you expect him to play like the way he's been playing? No. So I'm actually really impressed. I think this offense is going to take it to places where we didn't think they would. The starters are set. We already know who they are. And every week I find myself just falling in love with Jordan Love's ADP more and more every week. I also think Romeo Doubs is a great pick in round 10 or 11. That's a steal for this offense that's about to explode. Yeah, give me Romeo Doubs. Give me Christian Watson all day. Next game, we got Kansas City versus Arizona. Score was 38-10 in favor of Kansas City. We did get to see Pat Mahomes play. He's still him. He had 10 of 15, 105 yards, and a touchdown. So no regression from him. Next take, Jerick McKinnon is the clear running back option on passing downs. I think he's got great standalone value. He's going to be in that game regardless of how up or down they are. He's going to see touches. And I like the fact that I can draft Jerick McKinnon as my fourth running back and still be able to play him in the flex. Now for the other running back, Isaiah Pacheco, finally got cleared for contact and ready to practice now. I've been seeing a little dip in his ADP, which is fine with me because who wants to pay high on anything? You know, we some low ballers here. We balling on a budget. So give me him in the 6th, 7th round, 8th round. I'll take that. Last takeaway from Kansas City. Andy Reid is trying to confuse us with this whole wide receiving thing, bro. We don't ever know what's going to happen. We don't know Kadarius Toney. We don't know when he's coming back. We don't know if Sky Moore is going to be the number one option. Last week we saw Richie James ball out. This week we see Rashee Rice. I'm like, bro, what the fuck is going on with this offense and these wide receivers? Rashee Rice had a great game. He had 9 targets, caught 8 of them for 96 yards. One of those should have been a touchdown, but he got caught from behind. Bro, do we know what's happening with this wide receiving core in Kansas City? No, but I think I'm still going to pick up Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore if he's ever available. And for Arizona, there's not much to say here. I'm pretty sure I'm still fading everything that has to do with this offense. We did get to see Hollywood Brown play. He had 2 targets, 1 catch, and 12 yards. Nothing there. And only other take I can see is I'm assuming Keontae Ingram is the RB2, so handcuffing him to James Conner would probably be your best bet if you have to draft James Conner, but I'm not doing that at all. Next game, we've got Denver versus San Fran. Now, this game ended up being 20-21. It was a real close game. Probably one of the most exciting games this week. We got to see both Brock Purdy and Russell Wilson. That was really good to see. I did not know Brock Purdy was back and playing. Boy, when I saw him on the field, I got so excited. I was like, all right, now maybe I'm going to be more confident in this San Francisco offense and drafting guys like Debo, Brendan Ayuk, George Kittle. I think I'm now back on that train. He looked real good out there coming off of that injury. His stat line, he was 4 of 5 for 65 yards, nothing crazy. In that small sample size of Brock Purdy playing, we did see Debo actually make some noise. He did target Debo 3 times. Debo caught 2 of them for 39 yards. Not gonna lie, I might be sleeping on Debo this year, even though he was one of my league winners 2 years ago. I think I need to get right back on that Debo train. Now from Denver's side, Russell Wilson looked young. He had 3 rushes for 25 yards. I didn't know the man could still move like that. Apparently he can. That's pretty good. That's a good note for Denver's offense that he can get the hell out of there instead of taking shots. And Javonte Williams is back. I think it's a little too soon coming off of the injury, but he says he's good. He's cleared for contact. So I guess I can't argue with that. He did see split time with Samaje Perine, even though Perine was solely that receiving back. Javonte Williams did see 5 targets on his 8 routes run, which is good too. So he might be a good value at round 8. Am I gonna touch that? I don't know. Maybe if he's my RB3 option, RB4. But if you're telling me to rely on him as my RB2, nah, I'm off that. For this next game, we got the Vegas Raiders versus the Los Angeles Rams. Score was 34-17 in favor of the Vegas Raiders. We got to see a little bit of Jimmy G. He went 4 for 4 for 39 yards. Nothing special from that. But we did see Aiden O'Connell again. Could he take over for Jimmy G if Jimmy G does not produce? I think so. The man had 11 of 18 completions, 163 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That boy is nice. My next take, Zamir White is definitely a must-have handcuff to Josh Jacobs. Now we're hearing that he is back. He's going to come practice again, which is good. But just in case that insurance policy with Zamir White, in case Josh Jacobs decides to start acting up again, yeah, give me some of that. And nothing from the Los Angeles Rams. The only thing I can say is Stetson Bennett is still my guy. The boy had 15 of 24 completions, 142 yards. He did have an interception, but he did have a rushing touchdown. So that man was moving like he did in Georgia. Our next game, we got Dallas versus Seattle. Score was 14-22 in favor of Seattle. None of the starters of Dallas played, but my opinion is Deuce Vaughn over Malik Davis in this depth chart, honestly. I know Malik Davis, I think, is RB3 and Deuce Vaughn is 4. I think Deuce Vaughn should move up to like RB2 in this offense, but he should at least be ahead of Malik Davis, in my opinion. And we got to see a little bit of development from Jalen Tolbert, which some of us were like, oh, you know, he might be a late round flyer last year, did nothing. He did have 6 targets, caught 4 of them for 65 yards. So a little development there. Is he going to see the field? Probably not with those wide receivers they got now. Sorry, Tolbert. Maybe on another team, or maybe next year if something goes wrong. From Seattle's side of the ball, I'm not going to lie, I might be a Geno Smith believer, and it pains me as a Jets fan to say that, because why couldn't you do that with us? Of course, you go to Seattle, and then now you want to ball out. It pains me. The man's stat line, he went 5 of 6 for 46 yards. Small sample size, but that's still pretty good. This team might be even better than last year's team, and they surprised us last year. I think even this year, they could be even better than that. They might be a problem. Another thing, is the Legion of Boom back? That defense looked great. And I'm talking about the second and third stringers were out there causing havoc for Dallas. It was crazy to see. They had 4 sacks in this game. 4 of them. And I'm telling you, 3 of them came from second, third string guys. This Legion of Boom, Seattle defense is back, and we should be scared. And my last take for Seattle, I really like the rookies that they signed this year when Zach Charbonnet and JSN. Zach Charbonnet, I think, is a must draft. He may not have that much standalone value, but handcuff him to Kenneth Walker, you're good. Or if you even if you just drafted him to be your RB4, if something happens to Kenneth Walker, he's going to shoot up as an RB2 on your team. I promise you that. We also got to see a little more from JSN. He had 3 targets, caught 3 of them for 58 yards, but he got hurt in this one, fucked up his wrist, and now he's got surgery. Reports say that he should be back week 1, but let's keep our eyes on that. One more thing, we did get to see Noah Fant. He came back finally. That man was gone for a year and a half. No one's heard of him. He came back. He got 1 target, caught that one for 21 yards. Could we see Noah Fant coming back up? I don't know. For our next game, we got New Orleans versus the LA Chargers. Score was 22-17 in favor of New Orleans. Nothing to say about this game. None of the starters started this one, but I was just interested to see the rookie play. We got to see Kendre Miller, who had a better game than he did last week. And he tweaked his knee last week, and then he came back. So I think everything's good there. He had 10 rushes for 23 yards and a touchdown. I like that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying I'm still high on him or saying he's a must draft. But if Jamal Williams does not pan out for New Orleans, Kendra Miller could be bigger in this offense than we thought. We also got to see Quentin Johnson play a hell of a lot better in this one versus last week. Last week he had 4 drops. That was bad. This one he had 3 targets, caught all 3, so no more drops, and had 37 yards. Quentin Johnson still might be a good value at wide receiver 4 in case anything happens in that LA Chargers offense. I like Quentin Johnson a lot. And for the last game, for this last game, I enjoyed the hell out of this game. We've got Washington versus Baltimore. Score was 29-28, another close one. But main reason why I was so excited about this game and had so much fun watching this game is that we got to see Washington play the starters for a whole first half. I thought maybe after the first quarter they're done. Nope, they played the whole first half, and it was crazy. Scary Terry did get injured in this one, got turf toe. Reports say the x-rays came back negative, so did the MRI, so maybe it's not severe, but I don't know. I've seen guys with turf toe injuries, and it affects them not completely in the long run, but if it lingers, it probably could. Sam Howell looked low-key great in this one. He had 19 of 25 completions, 188 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Should have been 3, but one of those drives resulted in a field goal. They couldn't do anything while in the red zone, which sucks. But it's all good. 2 touchdowns, 188 yards. I'm not mad. I like Sam Howell a lot. I think as your QB3, you can't go wrong. And if he plays this consistent, these wide receivers on this team are due for a huge season. Scary Terry, Jahan Dotson, even that one guy, Dewaney Brown, they look great in this one. My only takeaway from Baltimore is we got to see Zay Flowers. He looked elusive and faster than I thought, honestly. When he caught that ball and ran it in for about 20-something yards, I think it was 22 yards for that touchdown, I was like, yo, Zay Flowers, I like that. His stat line, he had 2 targets, 2 catches, 37 yards, and that touchdown. I still want to see what this offense is going to look like with all these weapons. So I think I'm not going to bump him up in rankings at anything. I'm going to pump my brakes on this because I still doubt that Zay Flowers is going to make all this noise on his rookie year. Maybe his sophomore year, but his rookie year, I don't see too much of that happening. And that's it for all my takeaways of the Week 2 preseason. I hope y'all enjoyed, and if y'all did, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more content like this. As usual, I'm Frankie J. This is the Fantasy Blitz Show, and we out. Peace.